Yes,
Gopher.
he's like the barometer for like how serious it's actually going to be.
So
So
true, because
bad.
he left during that horrible
You
winter
guys had
storm
it
we
this
got.
winter storm, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, God bless. All right, hold on. All right, there we are. There we are. Beautiful, looking gorgeous. Liberty, I'm going to ask you to open the show today because we didn't go so well when we asked Ben to do it the other time.
Okay. I didn't hear. I don't think so.
He's just we so often don't utilize Ben to do the opening. He just forgot what the show was called.
Oh.
I totally was like,
Well, it might
sure.
be easier for me than remembering my cue, as it were.
You don't have to worry about the cue tonight. No cue for you tonight. No, this week in Chicone cue coming up.
Okay, thanks so much.
Are we all ready, kids?
Yep.
Yeah, we're live streaming. There's one person watching, which is me.
Mhm.
You're our most dedicated watcher, Ben.
#1 fan award goes
Oh.
to
Now we have 6 people, so we can get started.
All right,
Mm,
Liberty.
6 sexy people. You're listening to MLVC, the Madonna podcast, your place for all things Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone. On this night of 1,000 stars, it's Liberty. Not
Hey
to be
guys, it's Tony. What's new?
I mean, I'm just here to take everyone to heaven's door. It's Ben.
Oh, well, I wasn't ready to quote something. Hey everybody, it's Stefan. Welcome
Start
to
it
another
over.
episode. Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna check it out. Happy July, everybody. We have another installment of our Madonna Summer Movie Series. Today's discussion focuses on the 1996 movie adaptation of the 1976 Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber concept album Evita, which became a hit Broadway show a mere 2 years later. The film was released in December of 1996. It stars obviously Madonna as Eva Perón, Antonio Banderas as Che, Jonathan Pryce as Juan Perón, and is directed by Alan Parker. A little bit of background for you. The film won 3 Golden Globes, one for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, one for Best Original Song for the new added on song You Must Love Me, and one for Best Actress, Musical or Comedy for Our Lady Madonna. We are going to talk about everything Evita today. It's an episode long in the making, and many, many people have been expressing their undying support for Evita, Evita. So we're going to try not to sing as much as possible, but it's a sort of, I mean, when
It's inevitable.
it's a Broadway show, so I mean, come on, we're gonna break out in song every. Well, so I don't. Have we all rewatched? Are we all ready? Did we? We did a fresh
did,
rewatch
yes.
because I did.
Yes.
I watched it with my Broadway honey as well, so I got to hear some of that feedback.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
And I also did a re-listen just to sort of like take in just from the musical aspect of it. But I think for all intents and purposes tonight, maybe we just focus on the movie. Maybe we can do like a deep dive on the album a little later, since it's technically not a Madonna album anyway. But I don't know. Where do we want to start with it? Do we want to? I feel like there's a bunch of different things. Like the quick notes I was thinking of, I was like, well, there's the direction from Alan Parker. Obviously, there's the acting and the performances by all of the actors. I mean, we can talk a little bit about the cinematography from Darius Kanji, which was amazing, or the costumes made by Penny Rose. But
Penny
so I'm like,
Rose.
I feel like, I mean, we maybe start with like the performances.
I was thinking maybe to start with how she got the part, just because that's pretty essential to the story of it getting made, because it was long in the making as far as her desire to play the lead role and the efforts that she went into getting that role. So,
Yep.
Which, yeah, I think you're totally correct. A lot of people might not realize. I mean, this went through many, many hands and many, many iterations. I mean, at one point it was going to be Oliver Stone directing Meryl Streep, which is why Oliver Stone actually has a bit of a screenplay. He's a co-writer on the
Mhm.
screenplay. But yeah, so Madonna, I mean, she got attached to it somewhere in the 90s, I believe. And then, I mean, props to her for, actually deciding to record some of her own songs after she did some vocal lessons to sort of
Mhm.
send them to Alan Parker as her audition. I mean, that's how we got Something to Remember, because she's like, well, I'm going to release a ballads album. Here you go.
Mhm.
yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, deft move, I think, on her part. Really great.
And yeah, and I was researching and watching a few supplemental documentaries and a couple of interviews with her during the Something to Remember era leading up to Evita. All these, of course, were foreign interviews because in the US, I don't think they even, except for the aborted Courtney Love interrupted interview,
Right.
she probably gave up on talking about Something to Remember. But yeah, she says that in 1986, she first went to speak to producers at Paramount, where Evita was at the time, in costume. This is right after Live to Tell when she shot that video.
Mm.
And they told her, like, you're no, like, thank you, but no thank you, you know?
Wow.
And they had gone through the first iteration of that movie where they were going to get it was either going to be like Liza Minnelli or some unknown rock star whose name escapes me. And so then it died. It went to Meryl Streep, and the timing was off. Oliver Stone left the project, and when Meryl Streep said, "I can do it," there was no schedule. It was gone.
Mhm.
Then they rebooted it at Disney, and Michelle Pfeiffer was going to be in it. She actually recorded demos for "I'd Be Surprisingly Good for You" and Buenos Aires, and they're on YouTube. They're really good too.
Oh,
She got pregnant, and Madonna found out about it. She wrote the 10-page letter to Alan Parker and sent the Take a Bow video,
Uh-huh.
and
okay.
she got it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, Tony, you missed your opportunity for when you were saying Meryl Streep wasn't able to do it. It's like, good night and thank you, Meryl.
Yeah. But Madonna beat Meryl, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Those Michelle
interesting.
Pfeiffer. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, in the last few days, I've seen some videos surface of her making the Take a Bow video. I don't
Oh,
know if you
like
guys
4 hours worth of
A
behind the
4 hour
Yes.
scenes
tape.
footage. I haven't devoted the time to sit down. I watched like 10 minutes of some of it. It's fascinating and brilliant, though.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And yeah, you know what? I think that's smart of her to send the Take a Bow video because it sort of lives in that same world. Like there were moments of rewatching Evita that I thought I was like, oh, this is totally Madonna's wheelhouse. Like
Hmm.
just like the attention to detail with the costumes and the hair and the makeup, eyes, hair, mouth,
Hmm.
figure. But like it's all there for her. And um it just like it's weird to think that people didn't think she should do the role, but I mean, I get it. It's a Broadway score. They didn't think Madonna had the chops, but I do want to say, out of all of the facts that like Madonna kept getting all of the heat for like she can't sing this score, I was like, Jonathan Pryce is not a voice.
Right.
He's like he sells it based on his performance,
Yeah.
but he is not like some Broadway belter, like he sort of talk sings. And I
Hmm.
was like, why aren't they attacking Jonathan Pryce? They're going after Madonna, who sounds gorgeous
Hmm.
and beautiful and is performing at the same time. But I was like, no one's saying anything about Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
Well, but
Or
that's the females against females thing, and especially when it's Patti LuPone, who, God bless her, but she likes to feed into that drama in and of herself. So you have that layer of it going as well. Yeah, that's an interesting.
And something else that happened is that I think the biggest point of contention for Patti LuPone is that she was asked to play Madonna's mother in Evita,
Which
and
is just mean.
ever since then, it's nothing but negativity. But in the interview I saw with Madonna, with Forrest Sawyer talking about the the making of, she said, "Oh, we have the same vocal teacher, Joan Lader," and she
I'm
said,
sorry. I can't
"No, no,
I
no,
can't recover from that for a moment.
right."
Hold on.
And Joan later told her that Patti LuPone told her she was happy for Madonna and that she was going to do a good job. And Madonna was very pleased with that. And she's like, "See,
I get what I
you
want.
know,
Oh,
no, no, it was more like it was the way she said it. It was it was very cute. It was like, see, like someone recognizes my talent." And I'm like, "Oh, just wait a couple years, you know."
I swear it had to have been Madonna. Be like, go ahead and ask Patti LuPone to be my mom. I think that's
Yeah.
what we should do. That sounds like a Madonna move right there, but
Mhm.
not saying I know that for
Yeah,
Or
sure.
because
who was that Vanja Andrew, the producer on it at the
uh-huh.
time? Wasn't he kind of like like I could see him being the one because he was the one producer who was with it all through the
Yeah.
years and owned like a big chunk of the rights.
Right. So he was in the
I
doc he was in the documentary a lot, and he kind of gave himself away when he's like, I this is my first big, the biggest movie I've ever done. It's a big musical. The other movies I did were like Rambo and
right.
and I'm like, yeah, don't say that again,
Well, so when Evita came out in 1996, movie musicals were not, we'll go back in time a little bit. Movie
Not
musicals
a
were
thing.
not popular. They
No.
were they had not sort of had the resurgence. A lot of when Evita came out, it was kind of like, what's happening? What's going on? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
what had
A
been
l-
the last successful musical movie at that point?
It was Grease, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there was, movie musicals in the 80s and early 90s. It just they weren't as big and astute as they have become since Evita. Like
Yeah.
now it's like, I mean, now that we live in a world post Glee where it's like musicals are sort of like all over the place, and now of course we have the
Right.
the, the resurgence of biopics where it's like there's
Mhm.
sort of movie musicals but just not based on Broadway shows.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, I remember when Evita was coming out, and I think from a movie perspective, so I did see the stage version of Evita that was with Ricky Martin. Ricky Martin was not in the show that I went to because it was the day after the Tonys and Ricky Martin lost, and so he
Oh,
decided not to show up for work the next day because he was pissed. But I saw the stage version. And I was very excited about it because I loved Madonna's version. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I get to finally see it on Broadway. Hated it. Thought it
Yeah,
was
I hated it
terrible.
too.
The woman singing was so shrill and annoying, and I left the theater and had to immediately listen to Madonna's version because I was like, my brain is dirty. I need to wash this out.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
props to
mean, I don't
Madonna.
find it to be a good musical.
Well, so that's where I'm going with this long tirade
Yeah.
is when I saw the musical on stage versus the movie, I still realized I don't quite like the musical itself because it's very all over the place. Like it's very disjointed. I think I was hoping that when Alan Parker did the musical, that one, he'd trim it a little bit and organize it a little bit better because as it is, it's basically it's sung straight
Mhm.
through, and they didn't add any like additional like language in between to sort of tie things together. So it's like you're literally just like skipping through the life of this. And my biggest problem with the movie, it is not Madonna because I love Madonna, is how they sort of craft the story where it's like you start with her death and it's meant to be this big moment, but then I feel like you sort of like you lose the momentum of where you're going. So like by the time you get spoiler alert, Evita dies. I mean, if you don't know that, stop watching and go watch the movie. But by the time we get to the point where Evita passes away, the crux of like that grandiose
Mhm.
interment of hers has already been shown and it's sort of gone. So we're like, oh, we're back here again. And it's just like how it
yeah.
starts off with like her death, and then we go
Yeah.
to her like back in time to where her father dies, and then we're like back to her funeral again, and then we're all of a sudden at 15. So it's like it just feels a little weird, the timeline and how Alan Parker presents it, I guess.
Well,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah. It
how it
is
is in the
gripping though.
show. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
But
it
I
is
mean,
gripping to
as a
because
movie, like you reorganize it. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
have to follow how the stage musical does. Like you can use the songs, but you don't have to. Like I just think because film is a different type of medium than the stage. Like do something different, bring an added element to it.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, from seeing these behind the scenes things, I feel like they were, and they did say it explicitly, they were going for a very naturalistic look, so everything had to look real. And
Mhm.
while I'm watching it again, I'm thinking, what if Baz Luhrmann had gotten this,
Exactly.
and made it like bigger than life and made it like just fantastic and insane. And the concept album is very different from the stage show and the movie, in the sense that it's very critical towards Ava. It's basically calling her a whore and master manipulator, and brainwashing the masses. And it's a very British stance. It's like very Britain versus Argentina, very colonial kind of study. And they had to take a lot of those elements out for the film, for the stage shows. But then when in the film, by the time all these adaptations have happened, the film is trying to make you feel for her in a way that doesn't feel organic from the original concept
Right.
album.
Because I mean, in reality, they were fascists,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
became
Right.
dictators. So it's interesting that the criticism of her, even in the film version, is
Yeah.
still deeply misogynistic. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's like if Melania sang,
Right.
and it's like, instead of rainbow high, she's like, do your best, or,
Yeah.
some sort of with her little be best stuff.
Yeah, when I went to see it I went to see it right when it opened, and I remember looking around at the end when Ava's dying and people are crying, and I was like, no, you're not supposed to cry. Like, she's not supposed to be a sympathetic character. She's not supposed to be this, like, this poor waif, who had life happen to her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's I think rewatching it, that was my one biggest issue with, other than Alan Parker sort of like all over the place, is I didn't quite grasp who we were meant to be rooting for in that. Like, it's called EVITA, so you walk in thinking that you're supposed to be rooting for her, but most of the time Shay is almost like how we're supposed to be feeling. Like, Shay's sort of giving you Antonio Banderas as Shay, the sort of narrator that like he's sort of representing the everyman. Like, he's different people throughout the whole film, and he's giving disdainful looks to her constantly. Go ahead, Liberty.
Well, I was just thinking, you have to kind of wonder then, take him out, if he wasn't there, how would we feel about her? Because I have the hard time with any Madonna film watching it and not thinking, oh, Madonna, I love you, Madonna, and it just being about her. So without his, let's say, narration or his added detail, I don't know if I would have had any kind of feeling about Evita. I did read a biography about how I was very, very obsessed with Evita when it came out. I got the soundtrack first, memorized the whole soundtrack, and then watched the film, and it's like, oh my gosh, Madonna is amazing, and she can do anything, and without even really relating to who Evita was as a person, who Eva Perón was, what she stood for, and why there would even be a musical written about her life in the first place. So how would we feel without his narration?
And to your point, Liberty, and to Stefan's about where is the focus and the pull of focus, then there's another layer for those of us who were, when it came out, and even now when you watch it as the Madonna fan, right? Like, you expect her as the lead actress to sort of be the focus and the center, and you want to react in relation to that and your own interpretation there. But yet the real point of view and the sort of there's not really a protagonist antagonist here, right? If there was, it would kind of be the Descamisados. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah.
But the people that they were supposedly representing, but just like the MAGA, they were sort of misrepresenting it. But then you've got her sitting there in the bed singing that song live, and I just start weeping uncontrollably. And I'm like, wait, I shouldn't be having this reaction, right? Except that it is tragic that someone dies of horribly painful cancer at 30, whatever.
33, sure.
Yeah. And they clearly had a connection, whether it was a love affair or not,
Yeah.
both in real life and in the musical and the movie. But yeah, I struggled with what both of you were talking about in terms of like, there's not really a hero or a villain, but there's also not really a protagonist or an antagonist. It's
Mm-hmm.
just sort of like
It
this
was it's
strange third person presentation, and you're just kind of
yeah.
left to figure out where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sort of that's I think like Alan Parker doesn't walk in with an objective point of view. Like I feel like he's trying to sort of like let us decide how we want to feel about Evita, which I guess is okay, but I still feel like watching the musical, Antonio Banderas as Che is looking at Evita as if she's the villain, and the even the rich people are looking at her as if she's the villain. So like
Mm-hmm.
they're constantly sort of like painting her as, but then when you see the scenes between Ava and Juan Perón, it's like we're helping the people. We're wonderful. This is amazing what we're doing. Look at all of this. And who cares if I want to, wear Chanel, or whatever it is that she's,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's weird. Like Vita was not doing stuff that was good for people, but she was trying to make it seem like she was. So like
Mm-hmm.
technically she's the villain. And
Yeah.
I gotta
Mhm.
say, I did love when so they in the original version of the musical, they did not give Madonna the one song. What's the song? I'm blanking on the it's where she pulls the young girl out of the bed when she
Yeah.
gets with Juan,
Oh, yeah.
and
Another
she's
suitcase in another
another
hall.
suitcase in another hall. Thank you, thank you. That was not sung by Evita in the
Right.
original version, but they
Mhm.
gave that to Madonna, and I kind of like that switch because it's like when she pulls her out, so move funny face, like she gives her that look of like
Mm-hmm.
it out, and I'm like, this is a little bit of the Evita I want to see a little bit
Yeah.
more of.
And
Like,
that's what the concept album was like. I mean, the woman who sang it, it was just biting and it was screaming and yelling, and it was very pointed. And when anyone else sings it, I'm like, oh, I need that extra punch, you know?
mm,
But I had like what you were just saying. I had a similar reaction when last fall I went to see that musical on Broadway called Here Lies Love, which is music by David Byrne and Fatboy Slim, and it's about Imelda Marcos, and it's staged like Evita, except it's like in a disco.
mm,
And at the end of it, when the Marcos, the Imelda and her husband have killed one of their political opponents in cold blood, and it's in the middle of this show, and we're supposed to suddenly like applaud their love affair and what they did. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right at all,
mm-hmm.
with
Mhm.
a disco beat even. But it was like, and it was the same feeling you have with the Vito. It's like she hung out with Hitler and Mussolini, but we're supposed to be like, you go girl.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm,
we
I'm
we started watching it, and I said, "Wait a second! I always forget this is set in the time period when basically they let all the Nazis come and hide
Hmm.
out in
Yeah,
Argentina and Chile." I'm like, "Oh
absolutely.
my God!"
Yeah, so it's a bit of a like it's a bit of a saccharine version of history.
Hmm.
Um, However, all that aside, I do feel Madonna does an astoundingly great job at portraying this character. She again, we always comment about this on the show with Madonna movies. She tends to sort of precede the character a little bit. She sort of her star shines a little bit brighter than some of the characters that she tends to portray. Um, Shanghai Surprise, and when she's able to take on a character that is a little bit larger than life, Nikki Finn, Susan, Evita, that's when I feel like she can sort of the Madonna isn't as prevalent.
Hmm.
Although, that being said, the way they treat Evita in this movie is very similar and very on point with how Madonna had been treated
Yeah.
up until that point of doing the movie.
Hmm.
So I felt like
Oh
it was like
yeah.
a perfect role for her to do.
I mean, she said that in that letter she wrote. She told him that this is the role she was born to play. She was, grew up without a parent like Evita did. She went to New York and she said in this interview she went to New York when she was 17, which I'm like, I thought it was later, but that's okay, rewrite it. Evita did the same thing, and she's like, no one else could play this role. And rewatching it this time, I was thinking about that, and I think that she was born to play this role because it's the only movie role where she kind of just fits right in.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's and she sounds great. She looks fantastic, and I just I watching her. I still love we still get Madonna being able to furrow her brow in this role, and I was like, yes,
Yep.
thank
Yep.
you.
The face was doing all sorts of movement. I was like, oh, who that?
Yeah, lots of emotion she was able to convey with just her face, not to mention her movement, her ability as a dancer. But
well, so bringing up dancing, so that was I read a couple of reviews, and one of them had said, considering that this was a movie musical, where's the dancing? Like we got a couple of dance scenes, obviously when Evita gets to, or Ava gets to Buenos Aires, and she's with Magaldi, and she sort of like has left him now, and she's like starting to dance with other guys. That's that dance scene. And then we get the obviously Shay and Ava dance towards the end, which I love that scene because you can see that they did that over the entire, they filmed that at each country that they were visiting, because it's like, oh, look, there's Lola. Oh, wait, she's gone now. There's Lola again. Like you can, I love playing like spot the Lola bump, because it's like, because they film all out of sequence. So it's like, oh, she's pregnant again. Oh, no, she's not pregnant there. Oh, there, she's pregnant again. But I just think from like, if you look at movie musicals now, today, like look at the, I'm blanking. I'm such a bad theater queen. But the movie musicals, they have big, elaborate dance numbers baked into it with choreography and this, that. I'm like, Alan Parker barely had. I mean, I know that there was choreography.
They brought in Vincent Patterson.
Thank you, Vincent Patterson. Yeah. Exactly. But like, there wasn't like the whole troupe on stage dancing and like, using brooms and, whatever it is. But like,
well, that was the most movie thing about it in transitioning it from the stage, is that he eliminated a lot of that kind of activity for the film and used those gigantic crowd scenes, like in the marches and the fights and that sort of stuff, which gives it a little more verisimilitude, I guess. But yeah, they're still singing through the entire movie, versus they didn't add any dialogue to the book whatsoever, which was probably an Andrew Lloyd Webber. Just like, he was like, no, you cannot touch it. So
no, and actually, in the Criterion Collection doc, Alan Parker says, I can't touch this text. I can't do anything that's not on the page. And because Andrew Lloyd Webber was literally on set right there with them, and you could tell that Madonna would always like look around to see who's in the room, but yeah, I noticed that, the lack of dancing, to make it more, once again, naturalistic. And thing that I find hilarious is all these huge set pieces with the funeral and the marches and all that, is to remind you that you're watching a real movie.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's one of the things that I marvel over watching this movie, is like, all those extras are real people. All those sets are really built sets. Like it was real. Like it's not computer generated. They're not green screening stuff. Like it's all done in real life. And I was like, that's phenomenal that he was like, I love that moment where, like, if you saw some of the behind the scenes stuff when Evita was coming out, it's that famous shot of seeing Alan Parker on the balcony at the Casa Rosada,
going like this,
shaking to get the extras to do it. And I was like, it's amazing. And well, I mean, let's talk about that. They were not allowed to film at the Casa Rosada, but Madonna asked them, and she got them to do it. Like, that's amazing. Amazing that she had that kind of pull at that time. You wonder if that would be able to happen now. I mean, maybe if Madonna did, sure.
Well, especially considering, isn't it when she arrived, it was all this fuera Madonna, like get out. They wanted her out of Argentina, so that she was able to sway the president. It's sort of a testament to her sort of wiles, her feminine ways, if you will, and just who she is. I think she's largely a very convincing person in general. The world's greatest salesperson, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah, she also managed to find the time and a really good location to shoot the Love Don't Live Here Anymore video.
Wow, yeah.
With
Oh
Lola.
yeah.
No, apparently the building where they shot that is like this old ballroom, different floors, and I think yeah, there was like a whole thing about letting her shoot there, and she's like, no, but this looks like a big hall from Evita and from that time, so I want to use it. But I guess I'm gonna wear a see-through bodysuit to do that in, you know.
Which she then wore at the VH1 Awards, or was that before she recorded that? I
I
forget.
don't know.
That was
We've seen that bodysuit a
before.
few times.
Mm-hmm.
That was with the Jennifer Aniston hair, right? And they
Hmm.
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
Sean Penn out to give her the award, and she
Yeah.
just had that look on her face, like,
Who did this?
You dirty
Yeah.
bird. Someone's getting fired now.
Hmm.
All right, so let's talk about some of the other performances. What do we think about
well, wait, did we really talk about Madonna's performance?
oh, okay. Well,
We kind
my
of talked all the way around it.
okay. What do we think of Madonna? I mean, I thought my biggest thought on that is I think she excelled best when they let her sing live, which was barely at
Yeah.
all. But
Mostly towards the end, right?
there's only a
Yeah.
scant couple of moments where they actually do live audio, which I remember watching that thinking, that's when I felt the movie came most alive. When
Yep.
like I felt like all of a sudden you were really drawn in, and I was like, why didn't we get more of this?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like because they were just lip syncing through most of the movie except for a couple of scenes, like when she meets Colonel Perron.
Hmm.
There's like it's like a little, oh no, Magaldi, I think it's like he comes off stage and she says something and it's real, and then yeah, most of the scenes where she's in bed sick towards the end, it's
Ugh.
real. And she's so good
Yeah,
in that
she
scene
sells it.
where she's
Yeah.
crying, and I'm like, God, she is great at crying and acting at the same
Hmm.
time, like
Yeah.
and singing. Like it. If I, in fact, I think that live singing of her at that last part is better than the recorded
Yeah,
version that they use on the album.
agree.
Mhm.
What's interesting too, she sings Lament live when she's in the bed. And then when she did it in Reinvention without doing the acting and just sang it as the song, is when she's in the electric chair,
Hmm.
you were just like, oh. Like that's one of my favorite live performances
Oh,
of hers
100%.
Yeah.
ever, is when
Me
she
too.
sits down in that chair and Jason and the other dancers part and the sparky things start happening and I just am like,
The choice.
yeah, the
Mhm.
choice was mine and mine
And
complete.
mine
And you're just like,
completely.
oh my God. Cause she acted it in the movie for
Yeah.
sure live. But then when she really like got to belt it on tour, it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
It's incredible.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What I'm about to say is probably going to be the gayest thing I've ever said in my life, but
I'll say it.
I think Madonna was robbed of an Academy Award nomination for Evita.
Oh,
Totally.
yeah.
No, 100%.
Hmm.
100%. I mean, I'm happy that she won the Golden Globe,
Yeah.
because I felt like that was very deserving. But Tony, who was she up against that year?
Uh,
I don't remember.
That year, she was up against Frances McDormand in Fargo. She wouldn't have won, but it would have been good to have
She
her.
still should have been
Yeah.
nominated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%. The
Yeah.
fact that she was not nominated was a crime. And just to have her, I mean, fine, give it to Frances McDormand, whatever. But like the fact that she wasn't nominated is a crime. However, and I was going to bring this up later in the episode, but since we're on the Oscars now, we're going to talk about that fantastic live performance
Yes.
of You Must Love Me, where,
Hmm.
as we've mentioned before, we didn't think that she could get more nervous after seeing her perform sooner or later at the Oscars
Right.
until we see her do You Must Love Me. And
Yeah.
I think you can tell that it's like just because that everything had built up to that moment, like the movie, she
Yeah.
finally got in the role. She did the movie. She had a baby. Now she's going through the Golden Globe. She doesn't get an Oscar nom. And now here she is performing a song written
Hmm.
just for her
Yeah.
for the movie. And she knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
Like the look was flawless. I watched it back again today. She starts a little shaky, just a hair of shaky, but she sells it. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mighty funny how Madonna gets two major composers to write her songs for Dick Tracy and also for Evita, and they both win Oscars,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a magic touch right there.
100%. And
Yeah.
again, a testament to just how strong she is vocally and how incredible she's able to deliver character through song. Um, just one of the greatest things that I admire of
Well, and I
her
think
artistry.
because a lot of people, obviously they look at Madonna as a pop singer, and therefore she's not a Broadway singer, and that's okay. But like, I feel like Madonna's performance is almost like the same as like a Jonathan Pryce performance, where he talk sings, but she sings and emotes. Where like sometimes you get these Broadway performers, and not knocking Broadway. I mean, I love Broadway, but you get some of their voice is so good that they're not acting; they're just
Yeah.
hitting notes. Like,
Right.
and I mean, the notes sound great, but it's the performance maybe isn't as there as, and I just feel like because Madonna her voice sounds amazing in the movie, but she sort of maybe where she can't belt, she performs instead, and I think
Oh
it's
yeah. She
I
also oh,
No, I
go
was
on,
just gonna
Tony.
say her voice is like nothing we've heard before,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
she may not hit the notes that the Broadway divas who played her did, but she hits her own notes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. No, I was going to say that. Oh shit, I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so one of the things that we finally get to see in this movie is because, a lot of people had said, oh, she can act with the camera, right? Like you think about her music videos and some of her previous movies, and there were some where she clearly felt comfortable and she was really good at interacting with the other actors, especially like Rosie and Warren and yada yada. But in this one, you really got the sense that she was participatory in the entire experience.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because it was all singing, but just she like fully embodied it. But I also would like to give severe credit to her performance for her contacts and her fake teeth
Yeah.
because
Same.
they put her into that space. Like it is creepy because as I was rewatching it, I was like, what did she actually look like? Like I had forgotten what Ava Prone actually looked like, and I was like, oh, like in some of the outfits that replicated outfits that she actually wore, especially that bejeweled one when they were walking up the stairs after she didn't let him come in the room for some nookie,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and then they were at that gala, like it was almost an impersonation. Like it was crazy how spot on the resemblance was. And I think that helped her. Just how she looked like you would imagine all the
Yeah.
way May or Susan or Breathless looked. She did that full transformation. It was so wonderful.
Oh, let's talk about our favorite looks. I love
Oh,
Rainbow High, the jacket and then the hat with like the two
Oh
like
yeah,
orbs. And
very very earliness of like Nothing Really Matters
right,
celebration tour.
yeah. And then I also love that pre-Blonde Ambition look with like the big fall, where it's like up in a bun, and she just looks, I don't know, it looks like an award show look.
hmm
I know mine. Mine is when she's singing the "There is no soap like that," and she's got the little like
Yes.
antenna curls in the
yeah.
all the way May hair, and she
Hmm.
looks over at the dude, and then she spots the general, and you're like, "Oh yeah!" And yeah, that look and that hair and that
Mhm.
makeup, loved it.
Liberty, what about you? What's a favorite look of
Oh,
yours?
what's your background? I just think it's
Uh,
mesmerizing. I mean, there's so many. It's
Yeah.
this classic sort of look that I
Mhm.
love when she does it, this old Hollywood glam look. Like we
Yeah.
got a few weeks ago in this random photo shoot with this sort of Veronica Lake looking hair.
Yeah.
I wish we would have more of that.
All of that, yeah.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I I don't know if I have like a favorite look. I mean, because there's so many. There's like 80 some different
Mhm.
looks
She
that
won
they
the
do.
Guinness World Record
Yeah, it's
for
like it's
most costume
crazy. I
changes.
mean, yeah, my background of her on the balcony of the Casa Rosada, to me, that's like iconic Madonna in Evita.
Mhm.
I do love like all of the different looks that they go through. But yeah, I think I think that's. I also love the outfit too. And what are
Yeah.
they like, little palm
so
trees, or what are they like,
No,
firework bursts are on there?
so that is
like,
like a play on the Argentine flag. It
Mm,
has like a
mm,
blue sun.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I love that look too, because in the play, in the show, the costume, the iconic costume, is the cheap white prom dress
Yes.
with the rhinestones, and it served a purpose. But I'm glad that they didn't do that for her, that they designed something new that was, you know, kind of like, you know, I'm part of the people, I'm wearing your flag kind of thing,
Yeah.
Right. So we should reference the chat, because as we got into this favorite look, of course, the chat lit up.
Boom.
So someone mentioned the polo game look, and that was my second,
Yes, the
because there's
hat.
that
Yeah.
amazing scene when she's in the hat and the polka dot dress, and
And
she's
she has the
sitting there,
parasol. The parasol.
and all
Yes.
the people disappear, and she's singing live.
Mhm.
Right? That's one of the parts where she's
Mhm.
singing part of it.
Yeah.
And Shay is like there, and then all the people. I mean, she sounds and looks, because that's a spot too in the movie where you get to see like her ambition and her sort of.
Mhm.
That was really good. Okay, two people said the wedding outfit was great. Everyone loved the
Beautiful.
red lip. Yeah, so those were the highlights, the things mentioned in the chat. So we weren't the only ones who thought those things were
Mhm.
like fantastic.
Well, I also want to say, I think what's wonderful from a Madonna perspective is we sort of got payoff 6 years later, where Chanelta, wishing that she could meet Antonio Banderas, is now in a movie
Yeah, right.
with him,
Mhm.
and they get some really great moments together, like what is it, the Good Night and Thank You, where they're like arguing at the not a balcony, but it's like a staircase, and they're like,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
sort of like trading barbs, looking at each other. Like they get some really great scenes, and of course, the waltz that they get to dance together. And I was just so happy for Madonna that
Mhm.
she got to like fulfill that creative, like, childhood urge of hers to like be in a movie with him.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Apparently the chemistry was so good that Melanie Griffith flew down to Argentina and stayed by her husband's side until the end of shooting.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
That's so funny.
She did the same thing when he made a movie
Wow.
with Angelina Jolie, and I'm thinking she's
Well,
smarter
that
than
one I
that.
don't blame him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't blame
right.
her either. Yeah, at least with Madonna, she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
Right.
Well, she had a
um,
hotter man at the time,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, but I love
I
how life happened that way for her. She was like
right.
wishing she could meet him, and now she's like his co-star.
yeah, that
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
too funny.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the music, because obviously this is a musical.
Yeah.
What I have some standout favorite songs. I don't know about you. So like I've said, Good Night and Thank You. Obviously, I love that song. I'd Be Surprisingly Good for You is
Mhm.
love, like worship. Obviously, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Like, I mean, you can't have Evita without Don't Cry for Me,
Yeah.
Argentina. And I think one of my favorite things about Don't Cry for Me, Argentina is the "Have I said too much?" And while she's saying that, the violins are
Mhm.
just sort of like
Yeah.
humming along underneath her, where it's like it just has this little bit. It's not tension, but it's like there's just like it's hovering with her. And I love the like, "Have I said too much? There's nothing more I can think of to say to you." And then the little birds, doodaloo,
Yeah.
with
The
the
little
flutes, where it's like,
flute.
I love that. And then obviously Rainbow High, which to
Yeah.
me is like Madonna's Evita Vogue moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That was my favorite, probably. I mean, as I said, I got the soundtrack first, and I was not a musical person. I never had
Really?
no, never. Growing up, I didn't, the
I
only
can't,
thing
I
I
can't
loved
believe you weren't
Annie.
in like High School Musicals
Oh,
growing up.
no. No, because they didn't give the chubby girl the roles in high school. That was only
Oh,
the skinny pretty one, no matter if you could play the role or not. I digress. Anyway, that's just my little bitter uh
community
Ah,
theater is waiting for you,
favorite
Liberty.
Yeah.
songs. I think, Stefan, it's so funny that you mentioned "I'd Be Surprisingly Good for You," which is sort of like the vocal tango between Ava and Shay. And as we were watching it, I was like, of all the songs in this show, that's the song I want to hear like young artists cover. And my partner was like, "Who?" And I was like, you know what? I want to hear Billie Eilish and Dua Lipa do like a lesbian chic hot version of that, where
Mhm.
Billie sings the Ava part and Dua sings the Juan part. That song would be hot as fuck.
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
That'd be fun.
Well,
Otherwise, oh, sorry, I was
oh
just
no,
gonna
no,
say
no,
really
keep going,
quick,
keep going, keep going.
my my standout songs are "You Must Love Me" and "Lament," and
Oh.
"Lament" because of what I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier with
Yeah.
the performance at the Reinvention tour. It just destroyed me.
Yeah, so this album had 2 official singles and a promo single. So it was "You Must Love Me," didn't get a remix, but then we get the Miami mix of "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," which
Oh,
I love. And then there was also the promo DJ only release of Buenos Aires. So it had some really, it was so circuit party, those mixes. I don't think I've
yeah,
heard
yeah.
them more than once, but yeah, I guess the standout for me is the Miami remix of "Don't Cry
Don't
for
Cry
Me,
for
Argentina."
which she re-sang. So it wasn't like
Yep.
Yeah.
they just sped up the album version. She actually went
Nope.
back and re-sang it to make it more
Yeah.
natural. I was like, more
Right,
of
because
this, Madonna.
isn't it Donna and Nikki singing
Yeah.
the backup on the Miami mix
Yeah, it's
of
Donna and
"Don't Cry for
Nikki.
Me"?
Yeah, it's Donna and Nikki, and also there is a Spanglish version which she sings half in Spanish, half in English,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only time in her singing Spanish career where she sounded good and didn't have an accent.
Liberty, what were some of your favorite songs?
Well, as I mentioned, Rainbow High, and then probably another suitcase in another
Yeah.
hall. It's just
Mm.
so it's really it's
Where am
from a
I going
yeah.
to?
So what happens now? This I think from a woman's perspective, it's like you often feel sort of thrown away,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to just move on to keep your heart from
Hmm.
breaking.
Yeah. So
Um,
move, funny face.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Liberty, would you say, because we've talked about this before, would you say that "Another Suitcase in Another Hall" has that last track Madonna album energy in this version?
yeah, I mean, I could see that for
It's got that
sure.
Secret Garden, Falling Free,
Mm.
Mer Girl energy to it.
I feel
Oh, I
like
just
Lament has that energy too.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just haunting. Lament is just so beautiful. It's a
Oh,
beautiful song anyway. I loved You Must Love Me as well. I think I mean, it took me a while to sort of get into that just because the phrasing for me was unusual, I
Hmm.
think from a
Well,
Madonna
I
song.
remember when that first came out, I didn't understand that they were meaning, oh, like I thought it was she was asking. Like I thought it was
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
you must love me. Like you have to, you like she was asking for the love, but it was like, oh no, no, no. It was a realization that, oh,
Yeah.
you must love me if you're doing all of these things.
Same.
Like but I didn't get that. I don't know why the first time I heard it. And I also feel like the instrumentation and the cadence of that song, you can tell it doesn't fit
Yeah.
in the with the rest of the music. It is definitely, you can tell it's 20 years went by and they just
Yeah.
plunked this in, and I was a little disappointed in that. I mean, I think it's a gorgeous ballad and I'm so happy that she got to sing it, and I think she nails the vocal performance of that song, but I just feel like it doesn't fit in Evita at all.
Yeah, I felt that too, having known the concept album really well and also at that time, like go back to 1996, we were conditioned to receive Madonna music in a certain way.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So when we got this single, it was a little confusing because it was out of context. We didn't know how it fit in with the rest of the thing. It wasn't radio friendly. There was a video. They were really trying to push it as something that it wasn't, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, right,
And
exactly. Like it's just piano,
yeah,
maybe a little bass violin or something, but like it wasn't like a lush
yeah.
orchestration.
If
Yeah,
they
and
had
this
released
wait.
the Miami mix as the first single,
Oh,
it would have had a different kind of energy and people would have seen the like, oh, we want to see this movie. It's got Madonna, as opposed to
yeah.
like her pregnant within an inch of her life behind a piano, you know.
okay. There was a video. I was
Yeah.
literally about to
Oh
ask
yeah.
that.
She
I
had
was
that
like,
gorgeous blonde
Yeah.
straight hair. Oh, so side part Donna, and she's sitting at the piano or by a piano
Yeah.
to hide Lola. And
I think she gave birth like 5 minutes later, because it was
right? Seriously. I thought
Um,
I was having like a fever dream that video existed. So I'm glad
Mhm.
you confirmed it.
No, I
you know,
remember being in a gay bar and looking up at the screen, and it's like I'm like, this is not gay Madonna. Like, put it away,
Yeah,
yeah.
they should have put both of them out at the same time. They could have
Yeah,
put "You Must Love Me" out to AC radio
yeah,
because
Adult
sure,
contemporary.
yes, at the time. And then the clubs and pop radio should have gotten that Miami mix, and there should have been a video. Although I know
you know
she
what,
couldn't have done it because she was like
well, but
kaboom.
no, they could have filmed that during the filming. You know,
Yeah.
like I
Well,
mean,
also
instead of her singing Karen Carpenter, it's like Madonna, get up and
wait, when was Lola born? Lola was born like
October.
October
October
14th,
So they could have
1990.
filmed it in November,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But-
especially with You Must Love Me, I mean, coming off of, let's say, This Used to Be My Playground, which for me is kind of a sister song. They sort of live in the same world in my
Oh
mind.
God, yeah.
I guess I thought about it a lot with that song kind of in the back of my
Yeah.
head.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking of another movie
Wow.
theme of hers is I'll Remember had a different kind of vibe, and I'm thinking something that had that kind of like emotional like baggage could have hit harder than, but I guess I get what they were doing with You Must Love Me. They're trying to make it sparse, and they were trying to make it,
Sure.
you know, like
It's sort of end of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or end of or like you think a relationship is dying or something else has gotten more important, and then they do a little thing and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But and I get it also from like a movie studio perspective. They were like, we need a new song so we can be
Yeah.
up for an award. Like
Right,
they want it. Look, we've got Madonna from, you know, it's a business. So from
Yeah.
a business perspective, they were like, we need a new song. We can this musical's 20 years old. We need something that we can plop in. It's new and they can win
Yeah.
an award.
and at the
And
time
oh,
it's
go. Yeah.
all like her entire sort of, I don't know if the vibe or whatever was the right word, but it's all soft. It's all soft Madonna. It's, you know, the whole ballad collection had just come out. We've had a couple of really beautiful slower songs with that were different and new. All of Madonna had turned sort of softer. So it sorry, it worked for the world that she was living in at the time.
She sang a ballad in Spanish
Right.
during
Yeah,
that time,
yeah,
you know, she was
yeah.
leaning in hard, you know. I remember being in Mexico for something, I think it was with my family, and they were playing You'll See on the radio, like next to, yeah. And I was like, that's so cool that, you know, she gets radio play here. Because at that time, after Bedtime Stories, I think that was the end of it, right?
Actually, I love
Yeah.
Verás better than You'll See.
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
me
yeah.
too. Yeah.
I'm over here just loving One More Chance. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love that song too.
Oh, yeah.
She sounds so good on that song.
I know. Yeah,
Uh,
I love EVITA for giving us new and improved Madonna voice for something to
for
remember.
sure.
Yeah.
And then,
oh,
yeah, when
and
you,
then for Ray of Light.
yeah, for Ray of Light.
And almost forever thereafter, because I don't think that what she learned in, and the amount of anxiety she must have felt the first time she's in this, you know, recording the actual soundtrack album. I mean, I've read about how she felt so overwhelmed and just was like, I can't do it. All of the things that she learned, I think vocally made her so much
Yeah.
stronger in sort of the second half of, say, of her career, where
Yeah.
she's become a vocalist, like a real true.
Yeah.
Well, and experimental. You know, I feel like you listen to some of the tracks on Ray of Light. Would we have gotten that vocal performance had she never done Evita? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just what she
Probably
does
not.
vocally in Ray of Light, the song. I mean, she is going all over the place and doing weird things. And I just don't think that we would have gotten that Madonna had, you know. So thank you, Evita,
Yeah.
for
No,
for giving us that gift.
I would have loved to have seen her reaction when Joan later, her vocal coach, told her, "You have another register you've never used."
Yeah.
And she was like,
Yeah.
"What? Wait, what?" and yeah, and then suddenly we hear high notes. I was like, "Wait, she doesn't do that." Well,
Yeah,
she does
so
now.
for everyone longing for the old Madonna voice of the 80s, you can blame Dick Tracy and Evita for erasing that, you know, because like
Yeah.
once she learned, you can't go back. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like she just couldn't, because basically the old way she used to sing wasn't proper. It's why she wrecked her voice in Blonde Ambition tour, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's any questions in the chat? Do we have any comments? Any
We just got into a side conversation about the 98 Oscars and Frances McDermott versus Emily Watson would Madonna have gotten nominated? But I mean, that 98, 97 was a stacked year for
Hmm.
performances, like legit. Like,
But
yeah,
she won the Golden Globe, and usually that's a shoo-in for a nomination, and
yeah, but
she didn't get
Hollywood
it.
couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Warren
but
Beatty
that's the
was
thing.
probably
It's
out there
Hollywood.
calling everybody on his damn Rolodex to
Right. And also
text
think about
her.
Hollywood
So,
in 1996. There were a lot of 80-year-old men,
yep,
you
Mhm.
know, from before. It wasn't like the new Academy, you know, where it's
Yeah.
diverse and there's, people doing what they want to do. And back then it was more like the old guard. And, I think that was part of the establishment she was trying to crack, you know?
right,
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's well, Stefan, you mentioned other performances earlier, and I sort of interrupted. So,
Oh,
should we
that's okay.
circle back to
Yeah, let's
that?
just circle back
Yeah.
real quick on some of her co-stars. So, I mean, I was happy to see. I mean, it's wonderful to look at that movie and see young Antonio Banderas. Like, it's so
Sure.
cute to see how young he is,
Hmm.
and he's
I,
great
But
in it.
yet,
I mean,
grown up from
he's
the Almodovar movies of the 80s,
Mhm.
yeah.
like, because he was a hot little piece in the 80s.
I
And
like the
it,
woman who played Evita's mother.
oh, yeah. Oh, and can we talk about the actor that played, I guess it was Ava's brother, who sort of like pimps her out to all these different
Right.
men through the
Yeah.
movie? I had never noticed that aspect of it until I watched it this weekend. And because I actually was trying to find a picture of him from the film to be my background, because I was like,
Yeah.
I want the brother pimp up in here on my background just to give him props.
Yeah,
So
apparently in real life, a few years after Ava started becoming a successful actress, she brought her brother up to Buenos Aires as to live with her as her chaperone or whatever, you know?
who does that sound like?
I know,
uh-huh,
right?
exactly the parallels between Madonna and Christopher. I
And
mean, come on.
long story short, he became a high-ranking government official by the time this was all done, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, her family was, like in Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, her family was all up there, you know?
Hmm.
That
We shall see, little man.
hmm
Yeah,
No,
I love
Eva,
that her
don't
family
get
is
carried
always in the
away.
background for
hmm
some of that. And they're sort of like looking down on all the people that would have looked down on them. But
Yeah.
now they're
Oh
in the house and
yeah.
they're like, no, no, no. Yeah, I mean, I love all of the like some of those like the second players, all like her family or like some of the like the people that like sing some of the chorus, but as like they just sort of like they're like the audience members that they
hmm
they sort of follow the troupe around. I love those performers. I mean, obviously Jonathan Pryce. I mean, he's a stalwart. Like he's such a and yes, I know that I usually am one of the people that complains that Madonna never gets these hot men to be in a movie with, but as a co-star. Jonathan Pryce is not one of those hot men either. But I do love
He's
that Jonathan
cute.
he fits the part. Let's just say that.
He's
Like
sweet looking. Like he has such sweet
yeah. But I
eyes.
mean, if I was Madonna brushing my hair in my bedroom and I heard a knock at the door, I wouldn't be opening it either.
Right. You know what though? They wanted John Travolta to play Perón so badly, and it would have happened if he hadn't done Pulp Fiction, because then suddenly he was like too hot.
I never knew that.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had not heard that either. I
That
don't
would
know how I
be
feel about that.
that would be he would have wrecked that
Yeah,
movie.
that would have been.
He
Ugh.
probably would have had like a fake mouth and like fake hair, and it would have been really distracting,
It would have been
They would have had
terrible.
zero chemistry
hmm
together. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could tell that Madonna and Jonathan Pryce liked each other in
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Once again,
Oh yeah.
she's like, I'm in a good movie with good actors,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And then who's the guy who plays Magaldi?
Jimmy
Um
Nail.
Yeah,
Thank you.
apparently
Yeah.
he's like a big West End and television star in the UK. He never made it over here, but he's like sleazy enough, right?
Yeah. I just thought it was so funny that like that whole opening storyline with like Magaldi and Ava that Madonna's playing 15. Like I did
Yeah.
not realize that she was supposed to be playing 15. I thought she was just playing like, oh, young Ava. But I'm like,
Yeah.
when I read I'm like 15. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they could have got somebody
Yeah.
younger to play that
But
first
obviously
part
they
and
didn't
just
want to
dubbed
because
it.
Madonna wanted to be in the whole movie, But I was like,
Oh,
what
Lord.
are we doing here?
I,
Yeah, that was
yeah. I think teenage Ava deserved a better wig.
They should have
oh,
because
100%.
the
Totally.
child didn't look anything like Like if
Yeah.
there had been a progression, it would have helped a little bit to sort of help me understand, oh, I'm looking at little girl Eva. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at teenage Eva. Oh, I'm looking at
Well, I
Eva
mean,
adult.
I know this is trite and silly of me to think this, but like, when did Ava have braces? Because little Ava
Right.
had
Crooked
Yeah.
a crock of teeth in her, and I was like, and yet 15-year-old Ava did not have braces, which was when she would have had
Yeah.
braces to
Yeah.
all of a sudden have that beautiful smile. So I was like, when did that detail happen, Ellen
Right.
Parker?
She didn't even have a father. How could she get braces? You
Exactly,
know?
exactly. I don't know. These are the
Yeah,
things that
that
I think about where
wig.
I'm just like, when did she have braces? Like,
Yeah.
I
she's
feel like
trotting
she
off to
just went in
Buenos
the
Aires.
she went in the closet and got the rain wig and turned it backwards, and that was baby
Yeah,
Ava.
that
I was
very
just
yeah.
like, oh
That
hell.
that's why
Uh-uh.
I appreciated the makeover montage, when she's like
Mhm.
becoming a star. I was like, oh, finally,
Mm.
here we go.
Mhm.
What we came here
Okay,
for. Looks.
some tea from the chat. Apparently, Jimmy Nail had was a singer also in the UK, and somebody in the chat says Jimmy Nail had an awful song that was a hit here in the UK. It haunted my childhood.
Aw.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna
That
have to
is
look it up.
so
Yeah,
funny.
I'm gonna have to look that up too.
Liberty, we're gonna need you to cover that song.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
already on the docket, darling.
Oh my God. Then somebody said that baby Ava wig came back during the Madam X promo.
It sure did.
It totally did. I swear to God that it was giving me flashbacks to that, and I was like, "What is this
She
wig?"
found
When
it in her
she's playing the
archive.
The accordion.
Yeah. Oh my God. I
That's
mean,
that's why I
what
wouldn't
did
buy
she
that shirt, because it reminded me of teenage Ava.
what did she tell us in Easy Ride and Extreme Occident, Life is a Circle,
Life is a
Life is a
Yes.
circle.
Circle?
Yeah.
She
Yeah, she
keeps
just
telling
she
us.
she went into the archives and she
Yeah.
was like, Madam X is a wig wearer. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is a penny pincher, and I've saved this wig
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
28
That's it,
years.
Well, you know what
Liberty.
happened? She had to have somebody mail it over to her to Lisbon, and they probably didn't pack it up properly. But she was like, "Well, we've got to use it," and they just plopped it on, and we just make it work.
Yeah. But then when she wore it in the show, I remember when she got close to us that first night at the BAM and she bent down like that, I like saw the hairline. I was like, that's a really good wig.
Yeah, it was the stage wig they spent some money
Yeah.
on, but yeah, like
Oh,
no, that
okay, I'm
yeah
done. Oh
that
my God.
UPS probably had to pay for a new wig after the damage they did to that Madam X
Oh.
wig.
Oh my God. Not the
What do you-
Madam X wig, the baby Ava wig.
Yeah. What
It's
do
no
you-
longer the
Yeah.
Madam X wig. It is the baby Ava wig.
And Madonna calling UPS, what do you mean it's not in the computer?
We need to get Corvette on this, actually.
Yeah, seriously.
Corvette,
Oh my
please
God.
unveil the mystery of the Madam X
The
/ Baby Eva wig.
Yeah, we laugh now.
Are they one and the same?
We laugh now, but cut to like 30 years and we're like scrolling the Tate Modern and all these things are,
Yeah,
on
it's all
mannequins.
Oh yeah, and the little card on the black wig, it's like
Yeah.
it lists every credit that the wig has, and it's like taller than Stefan and I, and we're just like, and we've got our little robot monocles trying to read it.
Yeah.
You may remember this from EVITA, but it also was in the
Little known
accordion Madam
fact.
X.
Well, right. In the celebration tour, the rain wig, that goes all the way back to, the Brit
Oh.
Awards, 1995.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
She called Christopher. She's like, Christopher, do you still have that wig?
Oh my God.
Hey,
Oh.
a reinvention. She loves to reinvent. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of that performance, Luca is also one of the the tango dancers in
Oh,
EVITA.
is he?
Yes,
Okay, I didn't
yes.
spot that.
There's a really nice
recall-
profile shot of
Yeah.
him looking hot as.
I
Mhm.
do recall Stefan and I speaking to him about that.
Yes, he loved. He was very happy that he got to be in that movie,
Yeah.
and
That she called him and told him, "Can you be in Argentina?" And he's like,
I'd be like throwing stuff in a bag and running to the airport.
He's like, I'm actually already
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Been here.
With the wig. He took the wig. They didn't FedEx it.
It's actually
He took it
his
with
toupee.
him.
"Yeah." Oh, I love Luca. Now in Italy, he's like the king of like their Dancing with the Stars there.
Is he
Mhm.
really? Oh, that's
Yeah, he's like
wonderful.
he's like the main judge, and he like runs the shit.
Mhm.
Oh, Of course,
All
now
right.
we have distracted the chat, and everybody's talking about the
About
Madonna
Luca?
wig
Oh.
retrospective and what would be in it, and like, oh my God, we
Listen-
literally
Oh,
could do an
you know what?
episode just
We
on the
could do a whole
wigs.
episode on her on Madonna's wigs.
If
Yeah.
that would,
We
if,
could do a season.
yeah, I mean, if that was a stage, if that, that was
Oh.
a staged exhibition, we would all go to that.
Oh
you know?
yeah.
In a
Uh,
heartbeat.
Take it on tour. It's the Rainbow High tour of wigs, and
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to like every city. Yeah.
Hair pieces here. This extension was used here, and then you might have
Yeah.
seen. Yeah, totally. I'm in a heartbeat.
The
Yeah.
rain,
yeah.
just to
Oh,
be in the
yeah.
presence of the rain wig, it would be.
Oh, and then they could sell duplicates in the
Ooh,
gift shop.
The gift
shop.
shop. Oh my God, the gift
Oh,
shop
yeah.
would be
Oh, yeah.
heaven.
They
Yeah.
could
Oh, yeah.
rename them all the candy shop just for you, Steph.
Can you imagine the Dangerous Game wig that's cut?
Oh my God.
Oh no. You have like it's like a they do like a workshop, like cut your own dangerous
Yeah.
game wig,
Right.
like
Yes.
Oh, where can I get my Sarah Jennings wig?
Oh my God. I'm
Okay,
telling you, we need
sorry, that was a long tangent.
we need to
Whatever.
do
Oh
that.
my
Yeah.
God.
All right. Well,
Oh.
everybody, I think that's our EVITA coverage for. We're going to end on the wigs because I don't think
Yeah,
we
we
can
have
top,
to.
we can't top
have
that.
to.
But remember, so that was our Madonna Cinema movie series movie review for July. In August, we are finally getting to the next best thing.
Oh,
I don't
God.
know how we all feel about that being the next best movie, but Liberty's giving us an early review of a love on that.
Well,
We'll see about that after we rewatch it.
how are we going to rewatch it? Because it is not streaming anywhere.
I have
You
the
can rent it on
Yeah.
on YouTube. Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
had to pay to watch this one on
Yeah, I
Apple
did
TV.
too.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube, but you can rent it.
I've owned EVITA digitally
So-
for years.
I have it too.
I have a
I was
DVD.
too
I
lazy.
can't. I don't
Yeah.
have any way to watch a DVD. I think I have
I
a
don't either.
DVD. I think I have a DVD of Next Best Thing too, but that's
I do.
I
have to
have
find it.
have it on VHS actually.
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
used to, but then I don't.
And I still have the
the
CD soundtrack somewhere because
Of
I
course.
love
Yeah.
I have
Time
that
Stood
too.
Still.
Time Stood Still.
Oh, it's
Oh.
gorgeous.
Well, we will take you there next month.
Mhm.
So everyone, stay tuned for the next best thing. And remember, you can find us on Instagram, X, and Threads at MLVC Podcast. If you'd like to donate to the show, we're at Venmo at MLVC Podcast or on YouTube. You can hit that like button, and it's a super thanks, and you can donate that way. So for those of you who can't donate via Venmo because you're out of country, super thanks on YouTube. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, tick that subscribe button so you never miss a video. And yeah, that's our chat on EVITA. EVITA.
One last thing, guys. I don't know if you guys are the only ones feeling this way, but I missed the Celebration tour.
Oh,
I listened to the live album the other day because I was like, I kind of need that Rio energy when she does
Mhm.
Nothing Really Matters. And I was like, and then I like segued into Holiday and I was like, I want your love.
Yeah.
I was living
Oh
for
yeah, I've been listening to it like a stream from the Rio show,
Yeah.
and I've been listening to that Stuart Price
Yes.
post-tour remix,
Me
that
too.
mixtape a lot too.
So good, so
That
good.
mixtape
It's
was
Oh.
great.
it's almost like playing Where's Waldo with Madonna songs
Yeah.
because
Yep.
they sneak in
Yep.
here and there, and then they leave,
Oh,
and then they
yeah.
come back, and
Oh yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time, don't hang up, everybody. We're going to talk wigs.